You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions at theoptionsinsider.com.
Welcome to the Hot Options Report, your premier source for insight into the fast-moving options market. Each day, we'll track down the products that are dominating the options chains and impacting your trading account. From Apple to VIX and everything in between, if it's lighting up the options tape, then you'll find it on the Hot Options Report. If you're listening to this show, chances are you're pretty serious about options trading. So let me put something on your radar. Public. It's the most cost-effective way to trade options. That's because Public is the only platform that gives you rebates on your options trades. They also have some of the industry's lowest index options fees. Whether you're placing single leg or complex multi-leg trades, every dollar counts. Check out public.com/optionsbrief and discover the most cost-effective way to trade options. Paid for by Public Investing. Full disclosures in podcast description. And now, get ready to scan the tape for the most explosive options activity on the street. It's time for the Hot Options Report.
All right, everybody, let's get down to business with another episode of the Hot Options Report. Man, was a wild one out there today. Listeners, wild stuff. We have a lot to get to on the show today. Let's dive right on in. Let's kick things off as we are wont to do. Listeners out there in the world of volatility, what was going on in VIX options today? Was it an action-packed day? Surprisingly, the answer was no. Now, you hear some of the other numbers I'm going to break down when we get to the single names in a second. You might have expected a little bit more action out of VIX, but not today. 521,000 contracts on the tape for VIX. The ADV, about 750,000 contracts, listeners. So obviously a little light on the VIX front out there today. The hot option out there in VIX land today, 31,000 of the August 29 calls, listeners. So an interesting strike out there in VIX as we keep on rolling out to SPY. Was SPY action-packed? Well, getting a little bit closer out there. The ADV in SPY about 8.25 million, and they hit about 7.64 million contracts in SPY today. So within spitting distance of its ADV. And what was the hot option out there in SPY today? You know it was a 0 DTE option. The question was which one? It was the 631 calls, listeners, going up 637,000 times. And once again, if you paid anything for those today and held them till the end of the day, you're regretting it now. SPY went out well shy of the 631 strike, about 628 and change to be precise. So no joy for the 631s, but they were the hot option in SPY today. Going out to the S, listeners. Was the S on fire today? No, the S actually looking a little bit more respectable than the VIX and SPY today, at least when it comes to its percentage of its ADV, because it exceeded its ADV. Its ADV about 3.6 million, and it hit nearly 3.75 million contracts in the S today. And what was the hot option in the SPX? 152,000 of the 6335 calls. So a little bit of a trend in SPY and the S today, both near out of the money calls, and both of them going out worthless today. If you spent anything on a 6335 call, unfortunately, and held it till the end of the session, you are an unhappy camper. 152,000 of those changing hands today. By the way, the S going out a little bit north of 6,300 today. Obviously, a little bit of a worm turning at the end of the session out there. Heading on out to small caps. Was it a hot day in small caps? The answer was it was pretty respectable. The ADV about 1.3 million, and they came in right about 1.3 million, 1.29 million to be precise. What was the hot option in IWM today? It was the, again, keeping the trend alive of August downside, the AUG 213 puts going up nearly 100,000 times, 98,000 times today. By the way, if you're wondering, small caps going out today, listeners, right around 221, almost 221 and a half today. So 213 puts a wee bit out of the money, but we've got some time. Keep on rolling out to the NASDAQ, listeners. Was it a hot day in the Qs? The answer was yes. The ADV is 3.7 million, 3.81 million hitting the tape today. The hot option in the NASDAQ today, 387,000 of the 565 puts. Again, you don't have to ask. It's expiring today. And once again, listeners, if you spent, in this case, listeners, if you spent some money on those puts, you may have gone out a happy camper. If you spent less than 83 cents, that's where they went out, listeners. Q's going out 564.17 today, listeners. So 565 puts. A little bit of a winner chicken dinner out there if you bought them out there. Keep on rolling out to the single names, listeners. This is where the action was today. We've been crunching this top 10 data for a long time here on the network. This is one of the wilder ones we've seen, not just in total numbers. We've actually seen more action in total volume out there, listeners, but just in the names that were lighting up the tape out there today, listeners. A whole bunch of newcomers and a completely upside down name at the top of our list. I'm just going to tease you with that. Number 10, listeners, we're kicking it off. I guess we're back in meme town because it was GameStop, listeners, coming in at number 10. Haven't talked about GameStop in the top 10 in a while, but breaking in today, 452,000 contracts on the tape. What was the hot option in GameStop today? It was the 25 calls expiring this Friday. 73, almost 74,000 of those changing hands today. And you got a little ways to go if you want those to pay off by the end of the week. Stock went out 24.20 today. Number 9, going out to Alphabet Class A, a frequent offender in the top 10, even if we haven't talked about them in a little bit. 472,000 contracts on the tape for the number 9 spot today. What was the hot option in Alphabet? It was 36,000 of the par calls, the 200 calls, which, again, you have a little bit of a ways to go to hit that by the end of the week, listeners, because Alphabet went out 190.10 today, so need $9.90 to the upside by the end of the week. Can we do it? Stay tuned. Number 8, listeners, another frequent offender. It was Palantir out there today. 502,000 contracts on the tape. Palantir going out 151.79, and the hot option in Palantir, again, expiring on Friday, the double calls, the 155 calls. Those have been popular for a couple of weeks now. Let's see if we can get there by the end of the week. 37,000 of those changing hands for Palantir, the number 8 spot. Number 7 going out to Robinhood, 508,000 contracts on the tape. What was the hot option in Robinhood this week? 24, almost 25,000 of the 110 calls. Got a little bit of work to do to get there. The stock went out right around 104 and a third today, listeners, for the number 7 spot. Number 6, to the Amazonians we go. 547,000 contracts on the tape. The hot option in Amazon today, the 230 calls, again expiring this Friday. In fact, that's pretty much the trend for all these names we're talking about in our top 10. All of these hot options expiring this Friday, if there are any exceptions. I'll let you know, listeners. And it was 60,000 of the 230 calls going the way of the dodo at the end of the week. Amazon within spitting distance of that, closing right around 229 and a third today, and taking the number 6 spot. Now we're breaking into the upper half of the top 10, listeners. The top 5, AMD coming in at number 5, 558,000 contracts on the tape. The hot option in AMD today, the 160 calls, again, expiring this Friday. Nearly 60,000 of those hitting the tape today. AMD going out 157. So it's within spitting distance of that 160 strike. Can it get there by the end of the week? I guess we'll find out as we keep on rolling to number 4. This one was wild to me today on the option block. It is still wild to me that it is all the way down at number 4. It was just number 1 on the last hot options report. What are we talking about? It is Tesla. 328.5 is where it went out today. 975,000 contracts on the tape for Tesla today. You know, if you've been listening to our option block show or some of the recent hot option reports, you know it's usually a battle for number 1 between Tesla and NVIDIA. NVIDIA usually takes it, but if anything can topple it, it is Tesla. Today, Tesla kicked all the way down to number 4. What was the hot option in Tesla today? It was 63,000 of the 330 calls. Again, within spitting distance of those, the stock went out right around 328.5 today. But Tesla all the way down at number 4. That's why I say this list is just upside down. What could kick Tesla all the way to the number 4 spot? Well, I guess we'll find out. Coming in at number 3, this is also wild. Apple. We haven't seen Apple this high on the list in a while. Usually it's a bottom half of the top 10 type of name. But Apple coming in at number 3 today. Again, that's why this list is kind of upside down today. 1.16 million contracts on the tape for Apple. Seems like some rumors swirling around Apple potentially launching a foldable phone, and Apple's always been a buy the rumor, sell the fact type of name. A lot of folks buying the rumor today. The hot option in Apple, 228,000 of the 215 calls hitting the tape. Apple's been glued to that par strike for much of the year, but closing today, 212.5. So it's got a little ways to go, but not that far away from the 215 calls. Can it make it? Stay tuned to the hot option report, listeners, throughout the rest of the week as we get into number 2. What was number 2, listeners? Again, wild. NVIDIA falling all the way to number 2, and it wasn't Tesla who put them there. That is equally wild. NVIDIA, 1.56 million. Now, some of this has to do with the fact that it's kind of a sleepy July day for a lot of our regular names. Not even a million contracts for Tesla. 1.56 million to be precise contracts on the tape for NVIDIA. Those are not blockbuster days, so it's allowing some other names to sneak in there. But still, to see NVIDIA at number 2 and Tesla at number 4, just wild stuff out there, listeners. What was the hot option in NVIDIA today? It was the 175 calls, 121,000 of those changing hands today. NVIDIA going out 171 and about a third, so it's got a little ways to go to hit that by the end of the week. Can we get there? Stay tuned, and now drum roll, please, listeners. What could possibly be taking the top of the list? We've already talked about Tesla. We've already talked about NVIDIA. We've already talked about Apple and Palantir and Robinhood and all the other frequent offenders. Even some rare offenders like GameStop and Alphabet have all been on the list already. What could possibly be taking the number 1 spot? Listeners, if you've been paying attention to the markets over the last few sessions, then you could probably guess what it is. I see the guesses coming into our live chat already. Yes, you are correct. It is Open, aka Open Door Technologies. We talked about this last week, bursting onto the top 10 scene for the first time really ever in this name's history that I can recall. It might have flirted with it back in 2021, but as long as we've been crunching the top 10, we have never seen it break in there. So just a wild debut for Open. We've obviously been talking about it on some of our other shows, like Options Oddities, when it comes to unusual activity for a while, but not in the context of a top 10 name. Well, it broke into the top 10 last week, and today it took the crown. It took the number 1 spot in the equity options market today. 3.41 million contracts on the tape. Those are NVIDIA numbers. Those are Tesla numbers, listeners. That is wild paper. It's especially wild when you consider that this stock, aka the Forever Call, was trading about 50 cents not that long ago. You could have bought all the stock you wanted for 50 cents. And now we have options trade that go out the end of the week that we're trading for much more than that. 75 cents, 80, 90 cents today. Just wild stuff out there in Open. By the way, it had a range today, 261 on the downside and nearly $5. It kissed $5, 497 before closing at 321. What a wild name. What a wild day in this one. So many things going on. Meme stock palooza. speculations about a short squeeze, more buyers than sellers, at least till the end of the day. A combination of all of the above out there, listeners, and then just falling off the cliff from $5. It seems like the buyers were just exhausted, and then right back down to about $3. Still over 6x what the stock was trading at just a little while ago out there. So just absolutely wild, completely upside down that open would be dominating our top 10 today, but that's what we got. And what was the hot option out there in open today? I'll give you a couple seconds. Let's see if you can guess what strike was lighting up the tape. Of course, it's expiring at the end of this week. I think that's a given by now. Was it the 3/2? Was it the 4s? Was it the 2/2? Was it the 2s? Nope, none of those. It was the 4/2, listeners, going up 368,000 contracts today. That is just, I think the technical term is insane paper out there. I'm kind of scared to do this, listeners, but we are going to dive in really quickly. Let's just see what some of the prices were. These are potentially very big ouchies, listeners, if we close here at the end of the week. They traded as high as $1.04. Actually, they hit $1.33 at one point. We saw these things trading for intraday. $1.35. Again, listeners, if we close where we are right now, $3.21, aka shy of the 4/2 handle, all of that premium is gone. Looks like most of these were buys. So that could be a pretty sizable ouchie out there, listeners. We'll keep an eye on this. I don't think we're done talking about open this week, and that's certainly not the end of the hot options report. We'll be back tomorrow and indeed every day this week to break down the hot options that are dominating the options market. Thanks for joining us this week. See you back again tomorrow, another episode of the Hot Options Report. And stay safe out there, everybody.
You're listening to the Options Insider Radio Network, the home of the Options Podcast. For more quality options programs, visit theoptionsinsider.com or search for Options Insider Radio Network in your podcast provider of choice. Listeners can also access all of our programming through our mobile app available in the iTunes and Google Play stores. Select programs are also available via live stream at mixlr.com/options-insider. That's mixlr.com/options-insider. Don't forget to follow along with your favorite programs and submit your own questions for the hosts at twitter.com/options, stocktwits.com/options, facebook.com/theoptionsinsider, or via questions@theoptionsinsider.com.